Greetings. On behalf of the Board of Directors for the EMS ISD Education Foundation, we'd like to welcome you to the presentation portion of today's event. The following professionals are recognized as a woman of influence in our community.
So I grew up in northeastern Oklahoma, out in the country, so I was full-on country, went to small schools, absolutely loved it. I did a little bit of everything. I cheered in high school. I played basketball. I did a couple of plays when I was younger, and so just had a little bit of everything. And there were so many amazing teachers and administrators along the way that just made such an impact in my life. So I went off to Rogers College University now, and so that was a smaller school and had a roommate from France. So that was fun. I always worked while going to college, so I didn't have that typical, experience that some have. I met Zach at DFW Airport, and he is just the most amazing person, husband I could ever ask for. And then we've had 4 wonderful children. I'm so blessed by them. I'm so incredibly proud of them. I ended up taking this job at this travel agency, and they taught me, the travel agency side of things. And from that, it just kind of directed this career, right, that I ended up in. I worked as a operations manager, an account development manager, you name it, I've done it through the years in the travel industry. But then that kind of led me down the road to SAP Concur. And so when I hired on with them, it's almost 12 years now ago, and it just kind of shaped my career. I've gotten to see the world, and it's pretty cool, like the places that I've been able to go and share with my family. So one of the areas that I volunteer is I'm a surrogate parent for the district, and really what that means is if a student does not have family or someone that can represent them in an IEP meeting, then I'm able to go in with them and sit through the meeting and help advocate for them. And sometimes they've gotten into some trouble, right? Sometimes they're all good kids, right? They're all good kids, and the potential is so amazing. I have so many women in my life that touch my life, help me be a better person, help me grow, and just are always there. And it's friends that I've made through PTA, PTO. It is friends that I've made through church that, I met 20 plus years ago, and they're still in my life. We still travel together. So I just feel like if everybody could just volunteer just a little, we wouldn't have some of the things that we do have to deal with as a country, right? Just a little bit makes a huge difference.
I had a great childhood. I have a great family. So when I was younger, I spent a lot of time with my granny, which was my dad's mom. And I grew up in church. We would go to church camp. I spent a lot of summers with her because my mom worked, So it was a good growing up. Me and my sister are really close, and I cheered for as long as I can remember. So that pretty much, kept me busy. But I went to TCC for 2 years, got accepted to Tarleton, moved into a house, had everything ready over the summer, and then God decided that I needed to become a mother, I guess. So, but I had a baby, and I had to work, and I just chose to work, I guess. So I waited tables at Risky's downtown for 6 years. Before long, I quit Risky's and started working at Reds. So, I really can't remember how it all played out, but it started with someone coming to Justin and saying, hey, the Longhorn Saloon in the Stockyards has like a little kitchen available, and they're wanting someone to open it just a couple of days a week. Would you maybe be interested? In those years, again, someone got in Justin's ear and said, hey, there's this spot on 287. You should come look at it. This restaurant's leaving, and they're willing to just leave everything. And, you know, so at that time it was like, is this what we want to do? We ended up deciding to close the Longhorn and open Boat Club. So we had both of them for about a year and a half, and then we decided it was time to close 287 and just work on Boat Club and build our catering business. And that's kind of what we've done. I really love supporting the charities with the school district, just the school district in general, the schools in general. The easy answer would be because I just can't say no. But I also feel like that's my job. It brings me happiness for the stuff we do that we don't make money on, if that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely have never thought of myself as a mentor to the kids, but the problem is I care. You know, I care a lot about the kids that work for us, and I don't even call them really our employees most of the time. I say my kids, you know, and some of those kids, I mean, our OGs, as we call, was when we first started, and it was our kids and their friends. And, you know, now they're getting married and having babies and becoming school teachers, and you know, they're growing up, and it's crazy. But I love them like they're my own. Definitely my mom. She's the strongest person. Her and my granny both. You know, we've suffered loss, and you have to stay strong, you know. Even my granny's a very hard worker too. She's retired now. She's the one that makes all of our banana pudding and cakes. Yeah. I wish that she would influence me to be a better cook, but she didn't. Definitely my sister also. I've talked about that. She's such a good mom. My niece Rayleigh is 7. Oh, well, she'll be 7 in January. So she has Down syndrome, and she attended Kinderfrogs, and it is just so amazing. It's so amazing to see how far she has come because of that amazing school that they have. And not only for my niece, but for my sister. I hope that what we do at Reds, that the community does business with us because they see that we truly mean what we do. That we're not just, you know, some mom and pop restaurant, you know, just trying to make a living, that we really do care about our community in the school district. And yeah, I mean, I do feel like you have to kind of give to, you know, get it back, you know. What comes around goes around in a way, but in a good way, not a bad way. So, and it makes me happy.
I grew up in North Richland Hills. I was born in downtown Fort Worth, but my family has always lived in North Richland Hills, so kind of born and raised there. My parents grew up in that area as well. I had one brother. He's 4 years younger than me, but just, you know, great family. A lot of, like I said, a lot of family in the area, so grew up spending a lot of time with friends and family as a child. In middle school and high school, I did a little bit of everything. So I actually played, randomly enough, I played kickball growing up as a child in a community kickball league. My mom was the coach, and we had a lot of fun playing that, so that kind of always makes people laugh. When I was in high school, I was actually a cheerleader at school, so that kind of helped me come out of my comfort zone. I was really shy growing up, just quiet and shy, so just had a lot of fun, met a lot of great friends doing that. After high school, I continued working for Chick-fil-A. I went to a local community college for a little while, and then I actually ended up moving to Colorado for a short period of time, which, you know, for me kind of just pushed me outside of my comfort zone. I'd always lived in the same area and pictured myself being in the same area, so it was kind of a fun little adventure. I ended up back here in Texas because it's home, but when I came back from Colorado, I really just felt a pull back to Chick-fil-A, and I found out that there was a local restaurant that had a marketing position available. And so I went in and interviewed, and I was young, but he really took a chance on me and gave me the position. And so that's really what started my career with Chick-fil-A. So I was a marketing director at a local restaurant. My second week working at that restaurant, I had an opportunity to go and do a grand opening. And so went and helped another restaurant open, and spent time in the community, just helping the community know that that restaurant was opening. And that is what really led to me working for a home office. I was actually in our marketing department for about 12 years. So when I started thinking about owning my own Chick-fil-A, one of the big things that drove me was just being able to create an opportunity for young people. It was such a great experience for me, and I just wanted to create a great place for young people to work, a place that could give them just an opportunity to learn and grow, and maybe learn skills that they hadn't had an opportunity to learn. You know, for us, our focus is how do we invest in them personally? How do we help them learn even some of the basic life skills that will help them in the future? Responsibility and making eye contact with guests and saying my pleasure, even though it feels a little awkward and uncomfortable. How do we, go that extra mile and serve with excellence? It's all about the little things. Yeah, I would say the second big driving force in wanting to open a restaurant was just being able to be planted in the local community. I think that's one of the things that I love so much about Chick-fil-A is just our focus on how do we care for people, for our team, but also for the community that we're in. How are we a bright spot in people's days? And so from the time we opened, we've really just focused on how do we build strong relationships with the community, with our local schools and local nonprofits, and just, our fellow businesses as well. So I am married to my husband, Chris. We have been married, it'll be 15 years in January. We have 3 beautiful children. Avery is 11, and then we have Finley, who is 5. She's in kindergarten this year. And then we have Pierce, who is 3. So he is our just ball of energy. He gives us a run for our money. One of the women that's had the biggest impact on my life would be my grandmother. She was actually a single mom growing up, and just always such a hard worker, but always did it with such a great attitude. She loved her family. She was always there. Growing up, she was just always a part of my life. My biggest cheerleader, for sure. Just someone that had that grit and tenacity. I think I learned a lot of that from her. I have not been called to be a teacher. I've been called to this, but I have so much respect for educators, and so anything I can do, and what I've been called to do, anything I can do to just support, I want to be able to do that.
I was born in Chicago and raised in Cicero, Illinois, which is really the place where Al Capone did most of his activities. My grandfather was a milkman, and I helped him deliver milk as a little child. Then we moved next door, and I was the only child for 9 years. And I always wanted to be a teacher, and in Chicago you have basements. So I had a whole basement, which part of it was a schoolroom. So I would try and get the fat books and be the teacher. Then within 4 years, I had 3 sisters, and it was a big shock to my system. I married my best friend 55 years ago. There's 11 members in our family. I have 2 children, a boy and a girl, and I have 5 grandchildren, so they're a total of 11. And we moved here in 1978. My husband was transferred with Motorola. We were coming here, and we only had to stay for 2 years. That was my plan. Obviously, we're here a lot longer than 2 years, more like 45. Because we love it. My children were little. Before we bought a house, we checked out the school district. We went to see what the schools were like, and we decided this is where we're going to live, in this school district, in this area. So I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and then as my children grew up, and they were 18 months apart, I decided to sub. So I subbed for a little bit, and I realized at that point that the PACE program was being taught by the librarian. And I decided maybe I could volunteer to do a gifted program, because I like to keep busy. So I talked to David Ramsey, he was the principal then, and I said I'd like to volunteer to do a few lessons with the gifted kids, because they had already been identified. He was a little reluctant, but he said sure. So I did a couple units with him. In fact, we went on a field trip to Fort Worth, and everything was great. Of called me up and they said, would you volunteer in the other schools? Now at that time there were only 3 elementaries. So I thought, well, sure, I'll volunteer. And then this next year they hired me to do, and there's 3 schools, and I went to Gilliland, Saginaw, and Eagle Mountain. And then the program's just grown. I mean, I got to 5 schools. When I got to the 5th school, I said to Mr. Wade, Ed Wade, this is hard. So then he hired Liz Hatley. And Liz and I had a great time. And then we hired Gene James. And the 3 of us helped it out. We worked very well together, had a great time. And since then the program's expanded. I didn't realize the impact that a gifted program would have on a gifted kid. Through all the social media, I've heard from so many kids who are now in their 40s and said what a difference it made in their lives. So I think I've made a difference, and I love hearing from the kids, and I'm glad the program started, and I'm glad it's still expanding and there's more kids being served. My daughter is probably my best advocate. She's very successful in what she does. She's opened 2 businesses, and right now she's in charge of a dumpster company. And then I have my Bunko group that I've been in Bunko with almost 40 years, and we've stayed together, and it's been mostly the same people. And then I have a church group that's relatively new. But all those women, and men in there too, have supported me through thick and thin, and we've gone through everything together, between deaths of husbands, deaths of kids, divorces, and whatever. So they've made me who I am in many ways. I used to tell the kids in PACE, when I saw them sort of either getting off track or having some kind of problems, I'd say, just stop for a minute and smell the flowers. And I think I would give that advice to lots of people, because I think we're in a world sort of topsy-turvy right now, that sometimes we just need to stop and enjoy life and make the best of it and enjoy every day, because you don't know how many you have left.
My parents provided a very good life for us. There were 7 children. I have 3 brothers, 1 sister. But I had a great life growing up in River Oaks, went to Catholic school for my first 8 years. When I was in 9th grade, I went to Castleberry High School, and I felt like it opened up a whole new world. For this little girl that grew up going to parochial school, it was like New York City. So I went to TCC. All my friends were there from high school. I thought, I'm not going to do this. So I applied for Wesleyan. So I go to the education department and decide I'm going to major in elementary education. Well, the light went off. I went in, I loved every class. I had insatiable appetite. I could hardly wait for the next project, and it was so much fun, and I knew I found where I was going to be. So when I first started teaching, I taught kindergarten, and I just loved everything about it. So I taught elementary school and gifted, and then Joan and I, we went on the road and we were teaching all these teachers gifted education. And we did a lot of work for Region 11, and because at the time, the state wanted the teachers to be certified. So we did that. So I got a lot of experience in that area. And then the next year, Marilyn Tolbert and I were tapped to be the administrative interns. And we did that. And then when we finished that year, I was an assistant principal at Highland Middle School. And a couple of years later, I opened up Chisholm Ridge Elementary. And then I applied for Director of Curriculum, and that was my last job here in the district. As a school board member, we had a lot of responsibilities. The biggest challenges I feel for the school boards now is to stay abreast of what's going on in the state. And this being a legislative year, to know that what's going to be on the agenda and what we're going to do best for students. The other thing is our curriculum, and to make sure that our curriculum is steadfast and that it is accelerated so these students can take it, continue to take it into the 21st century so it can help assist them in their future jobs. I am a very blessed woman. I have a lot of family and friends in my life that mentor me, that take care of me. We've had a couple of years, challenging years in our Hatley family, and I feel like, first of all, I know that I wouldn't be able to be where I am now if it weren't for God, and how He has taken care of me and blessed me with the family and friends. It's a bevy of people, and I'm so appreciative. I'm going to hone in on a couple of groups, and one, I have a wonderful neighborhood, and this neighborhood of ladies and I have become very close, and I feel like 24/7 they're always taking very good care of me, and when my husband was ill, also checking on us. And then our Bunko group, we've been together since 1984, and we meet once a month, but even though we meet just once a month, we communicate. I have a very strong family bond, and it made me think earlier when I was talking about my mother that she reminded me so much of Mother Teresa in so many ways. Not only was she very prayerful, but very kind to others. And Mother Teresa quoted, "If you want to change the world, go home and love your family." And I feel like I have love from family, but I have a lot of love from friends that I call family. And those are the ones that are so supportive of me. I like to sign off with "Love you, mean it," because I do. And I have a small heart inside this body, but I have a big heart full of love. And that's what I love, is people and relationships and happiness and joy. And it's not always like that, but we can change it with a smile.
Join me in a round of applause for these 5 remarkable role models.